Fisayo was a young, beautiful woman with a radiant smile that could light up any room. She lived alone in a small apartment close to the university she attended. She was the only daughter of her parents, who lived in a quiet town a few hours away. Her father, a hard-working engineer, and her mother, a kind-hearted housewife, had always pampered her, providing everything she needed. Despite being the only child, Fisayo never felt lonely. Her parents' love and guidance shaped her into a confident young woman. However, there was one thing Fisayo could never seem to get right: cooking. Growing up, her mother had always taken care of her meals, and Fisayo, busy with school and extracurricular activities, never felt the need to learn. As a university student, Fisayo found herself increasingly relying on food from outside, whether it was a quick meal from a food stand, delivery from a local restaurant, or a snacks from a roadside store. She could always count on something tasty to fill her stomach. Her best friend, Jumoke, always noticed this. "Fisayo, why do you always eat out? You don't know what's inside that food," she would say. "Why don't you learn to cook something for yourself? It is not hard, you know." But Fisayo always laughed it off. "Jumoke, you know I'm not interested in cooking. So why bother when I can enjoy all kinds of food without any efforts?" Little did she know, this carefree attitude towards food would lead her into a life-changing journey she will never forget. One fateful day, Fisayo sat at a small woody table in her apartment, strolling through her phone. Her stomach rumbled, but she didn't feel like cooking, not that she could cook anyway. While scrolling through her phone, she stumbled upon an ad for a new restaurant that had just opened a few streets away from her apartment. It was called Surplus Delicacy, and the reviews were glowing for the varieties and the affordable prices. The next afternoon, Fisayo walked into Surplus Delicacy with a sense of excitement. The restaurant was cozy and with warm lighting, cheerful decor, and the mouth-watering aroma of fresh cooked food. She immediately liked the vibes. It felt welcoming and promising. As she approached the counter, a waiter greeted her with a smile. "Welcome to Surplus Delicacy. What would you like to order?" he asked. "Rice and stew with fish," Fisayo said without hesitance. It was her go-to meal, and she couldn't wait to try their version of it. She sat down at a table by the window, her mouth watering as she watched other customers enjoy their meals. When her plate finally arrived, she couldn't help but gasp. The fish was perfectly golden and generously sized. The stew glazed with rich, spicy oil, and the rice was fluffy and steamy hot. "This looks amazing," she said out loud, barely able to contain herself as she picked up her fork and dug in. Her first bite was heavenly. The stew was spicy and flavorful. The fish was tender and well seasoned, and the rice cooked to perfection. Fisayo closed her eyes and savored the taste. "This is the best meal I have had in a long time," she thought, smiling to herself. From that day on, Surplus Delicacy became her favorite spot. She went there almost every day, trying out different dishes, but always returned to her favorite rice and stew with fish. Until one fateful day, it was a sunny afternoon, and Fisayo had just stopped by the restaurant for her usual rice and stew with a big juicy fish. She was halfway through her meal, savoring each bite, when something caught her eye. Right between a spoonful of rice and stew was a cockroach. For a moment she froze, blinking twice, hoping her eyes were playing tricks on her. but the glossy brown body of the insect was unmistakable. Her stomach turned, and her appetite vanished instantly. She dropped her fork and waved over a waiter. "Excuse me, there is a bug, there is a cockroach in my food," she said. The waiter, a young man with a calm demeanor, looked at her plate and nodded. "Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Let me replace it for you right away." He picked up the food and walked away. But Fisayo couldn't bring herself to eat anymore. Even when the waiter returned with a fresh plate, the sight of the food made her feel nauseous. She pushed it away and left the restaurant, her mind racing. That evening, she called Jumoke and told her what had happened. "I knew it," Jumoke shouted from the phone. "I have been telling you to stop eating out. You don't know how clean this place are. And look now, cockroaches in your food." "It was probably a mistake," Fisayo says, trying to defend the restaurant. "Things like this can happen anywhere." Jumoke narrowed her eyes. "A mistake, Fisayo? This is serious. What if it happens again? Or worse, what if you get sick?" "I am fine, Jumoke," Fisayo insists. Though deep down she wasn't so sure. Despite the cockroach incident, Fisayo convinced herself it was a one-time mistake. After all, accident happened. The food at Surplus Delicacy was simply too good to give up. That night, however, things took a turn. She had barely fallen asleep when her stomach began to rumble violently. The pain came in sharp waves, and she doubled over in bed, clutching her abdomen. A cold sweat broke out on her forehead as nausea overwhelmed her. In desperation, she grabbed her phone and called Jumoke. "Jumoke," she groaned, her voice weak. "I think something is wrong. My stomach, it hurts so much." Jumoke didn't hesitate. "I'm coming over right now." Within minutes, Jumoke arrived and rushed Fisayo to the hospital. After a few tests and some hours of waiting, the doctor returned with the results. "You have food poisoning," the doctor says out loud. "It's likely from something you ate recently. Make sure to avoid eating from unverified or unhygienic places." Jumoke turned sharply to Fisayo. Her face a mix of worry and frustration. "See what I have been saying? This is why I kept telling you to stop eating outside. You don't know what's going on in those kitchens." "I'm sorry," Fisayo says, her voice too weak. "Promise me you will stop," Jumoke insists. "I promise," Fisayo says, but deep down she wasn't sure she could keep it. A few weeks after her recovery, Fisayo found herself craving the food from Surplus Delicacy again. The memory of her food poisoning had faded, replaced by the tantalizing taste of their stew and fish. This time would be different, she told herself. It was just bad luck before. She returned to the restaurant and ordered her favorite meal. At first, everything seems fine. The food was as delicious as she remembered, and she left feeling satisfied. But one evening, while eating her meal at the restaurant, her fork paused mid-air. There it was again, a cockroach, this time even more visible than before. Her heart sank as disgust and anger welled up inside her. "Waiter," she called, her voice shaking. "There is a cockroach in my food again. What's going on here?" she asked. The waiter apologized repeatedly and offered to replace the food, but Fisayo's appetite was gone. She left the restaurant feeling sick to her stomach. That night, the stomach pains returned, though not as severe as before. Jumoke rushed over again and sat by her side, shaking her head in desperation. "I don't know why you keep doing this to yourself," Jumoke says. "You need to stop going there, Fisayo. It is not worth it." I know, Fisaya whispered, tears stinging her eyes, but I don't know how to cook. Eating out has always been my thing. Then learn, Jumoke says firmly. It is time, Fisaya. You can't keep putting yourself at risk like this. This time, Fisaya knew Jumoke was right. But first, Fisaya was determined to cover what has really happened as surplus delicacy. So she decided to investigate. Her recent experience had left her both suspicious and curious. How could a restaurant that served such delicious food have such glaring hygiene issues? One evening, she ordered her usual meal at the restaurant, and halfway through, she excused herself to use the restroom. But instead of heading to the restroom, she walked towards the kitchen, her heart pounding. As she approached the kitchen doors, the smell hit her first. It was faint but sour, mingling unpleasant with the aroma of the food. Pushing the door open just slightly, she peeked inside, and what she saw made her stomach turn. The kitchen was a disaster. Dirty pots and pans were piled up in the sink, overflowing with dirty waters. The floor was smeared with greasy and food scraps. Flies buzzed around uncovered containers, and cockroaches crawling around the countertops. But the most shocking sight was the staff. One of the cooks was wiping his sweat-soaked forehead with his bare hand before stirring a large pot of stew. Another was using the same rolling pin to stir a bowl and scratch her armpits, while the head chef, a heavy-set woman with a strained face, stood at the center of it all. She didn't seem to notice or care the cockroaches crawling around their feet as she barked orders at the staff. Fisaya's stomach turned. Her mind flashed back to the cockroach she had found in her food, the night of stomach pains, and the doctor's diagnosis. It all made sense now. Unable to watch any longer, she turned and hurried out of the restaurant, her appetite completely gone. That night, she called Jumoke and told her everything she had seen. "You actually went into their kitchen?" Jumoke asked, horrified. "Yes," Fisaya says, her voice trembling. "It was worse than I ever imagined, Jumoke. I don't think I can ever eat outside again." "Good," Jumoke said. "You shouldn't. It is time to learn how to cook, Fisaya. For real this time." Fisaya nodded, even though Jumoke couldn't see her. The morning after her shocking discovery at surplus delicacy, Fisaya sat at her kitchen table, staring at a pot and a bag of uncooked rice. She had never felt more clueless in her life. "Where do I even start from?" she whispered. "You get the hang of it," Jumoke says, tying an apron around her waist. "Cooking is just like anything else. You practice until you are good at it. Let's start simple. Rice and stew, your favorite." Fisaya smiled nervously. "I hope I don't burn down the kitchen." They both laughed. The first cooking session was a mix of chaos and laughter. Fisaya struggled to mix ingredients, spilling water on the counter and accidentally adding too much pepper to the stew. While she tried to fry, she screamed as the oil splattered onto her arms. "Careful," Jumoke says, rushing to her side. "I'm never doing this again," Fisaya groaned, holding her arms. "Yes, you will," Jumoke says with a grin. "You will get better with time, trust me." By the end of the day, the kitchen was a mess, and the stew was too spicy, but the rice was perfect. As Fisaya sat down to eat the meal she had made with her own hands, she felt a strange sense of pride. This is not bad, she said after her first bite. It is great for your first try, Jumoke says. I'm proud of you. Isaiah smiled, a warm feeling spreading through her chest. For the first time, she realized how rewarding cooking could be. Over the next few weeks, cooking became a daily ritual for Fisayo. She watched countless online tutorials, brought cookbooks, and experimented with different recipes. There were plenty of failures, a burnt pot of jollof rice, uncooked beans, and a stew that tastes like soup, but she kept going. One day, Jumoke suggested something that could change their life forever. You know, you have got so good at this, she said. We could try starting our own restaurant, a clean, hygienic place where people could enjoy food without worrying about cockroaches or dirty kitchens. Fisayo's eyes lit up. You think so? Absolutely, Jumoke says. The idea stuck, and the two friends began planning their dreams restaurants. Let's name it Fisayo's Kitchen, Jumoke suggested one evening as they finalized their plans. It will be your name, your food, and your hard work. Fisayo smiled, feeling a sense of pride in the suggestion. I like that. Thank you for being a good friend, Jumoke. The day of the grand opening arrived, and the excitement in the air was palatable. Fisayo and Jumoke stand at the entrance of the Fisayo Kitchen, watching as people feed in. The restaurant was cozy and inviting, with soft lighting, woody tables, and a cheerful atmosphere. A chalkboard written on the wall read, Fisayo clean and delicious. Welcome to Fisayo's Kitchen. Months passed and Fisayo's Kitchen grew in popularity. The reputation they built for cleanliness, hygiene, and amazing food spread quickly, and business boomed. They even had a steady stream of loyal customers who returned again and again, praising not just the food, but the atmosphere and the care that went into every meal. But as Fisayo's Kitchen thrived, the news about surplus delicacy began to surface. Fisayo had been hearing whispers from customers who had once dined there, and soon the rumors became headline. Surplus delicacy closed after health violation rules formed. Fisayo was shocked when she read the article. It turned out that after many customers had fallen ill and complained about food poisoning, the authorities conducted an investigation of the restaurant. What they found was a kitchen so filthy it had been considered a health hazard. The result was damning: dirty utensils, unsanitized food storage, and the very cockroach that has haunted Fisayo's meal. The restaurant was immediately shut down. Looks like I wasn't the only one who knew something was wrong, Fisayo says, shaking her head as she read the news. As Fisayo's Kitchen continued to thrive, Fisayo's life was transformed. She had gone from being a woman who couldn't cook to a successful restaurant owner. More importantly, she had learned the value of cleanliness, hard work, and self-reliance. The restaurant became a trusted place for delicacy, delicious, hygienic food, and their loyal customers appreciated the care they put into every meal. Looking back, she was grateful for Jumoke's patience and advice. Together, they had turned a bad experience into something beautiful. And as Fisayo served happy customers every day, she knew she had found her true calling. One evening, after another successful day, Fisayo looked at her friend with a smile. I'm glad I listened to you, she said. I won't be here without your advice. Jumoke smiled. And I am glad you finally learned how to cook. They laughed together. Together, they raised their mug cups in a quiet toast, grateful for the journey that had brought them here, one filled with hard lessons, but also with great success. Lesson learned from the story: always be careful where you eat and what you eat outside. Buying food is not bad, but be careful where you are buying the food. Please remember to subscribe, like, share and comment for more stories like this. Thank you.